Awesome. Hi, Bex. Thank you very much for joining me. So, Facebook family, this is my friend Bex. She is a nurse and a mum of two beautiful children. And today's talk is all about broken bones. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to do a demo today about broken bones without having somebody with a broken bone, and it's very difficult. And then I was taken quite sharply back to a conversation or an incident that happened on Tuesday, I think it was, wasn't it, Bex? So I invited Bex to come on here and talk about it. So yeah, straight in, we were having a Zoom chat as we do every week, because we're getting used to this whole Zoom thing. And can you tell us what happened?
So we went for our daily exercise down to the local park. And the kids were running around as they do. Dexter was climbing about on the skate ramps and decided to jump down from about 2 feet and immediately had immense pain in his foot, crying, hysterics, all the rest of it, and then could not weight bear on it at all. So yeah, then it was what we do from that. Do you want me to go through everything?
Yeah, I mean, came back, we were on our call, weren't we? So
yeah, so I came back and obviously said to my friends, this has just happened. And I was in a bit of a state. I didn't really know what to do. As you said, I'm a nurse, so I always feel that I should know what to do, but I don't nurse children and I don't do bones, so it's not what I do. And it's completely different when I'm in mum mode. Anyone else's kid, I'll be as cool as a cucumber. When it's mine, it's different. And I suppose I wanted somebody to tell me what to do, which is ridiculous because I'm a mum and a nurse and I should know better. But I didn't really know what to do, so I sort of spoke to the girls, and then I kind of thought, actually, what would I do if this was a normal day, if this wasn't our corona world? So I rang 111 to start with, and then they said if it wasn't X, Y, or Z, I should use the website instead. So I went on the website, I answered their questions, and they directed me to go to A&E immediately. So I thought, right, I wanted to be told what to do. I've been told what to do. I'm going to do that.
Follow the instructions, right? So Bex kind of left the conversation and we were all going, oh gosh, I hope it's not going to be too long up there, and it's going to be, scenes of apocalyptic doom, loads of people being, the scenes that we've kind of been seeing on TV up until now. So we all checked in with you. And what did you see? What were the scenes up at the hospital?
So it was a ghost town. It was the car parks were practically empty. The barriers was up, so I was pleased I didn't have to pay, because obviously that's important. So practically empty, went in, and then it's the usual scene that you're now seeing everywhere. There was tape on the floor, little boxes where you should stand, screens in front of the receptionists. Me and Dexter took a material buff, so we could just cover our noses and mouths, as is the current guidelines. If you're in an enclosed space, you should be covering your nose and your mouth. So we did that. There was 3 or 4 people sat in the waiting room. So it wasn't manic, it wasn't hellish, it wasn't any of those things. It was a quiet A&E waiting room. The receptionist, we went and checked in. She then offered proper face masks for me and Dexter, which I willingly took. So we both had the proper protection on. All the chairs, they're taped. So there's one chair and then 2 chairs taped and then 1 chair, so you can't sit next to each other. All the doctors and nurses using the proper PPE, proper signage, hand cleaning stuff everywhere. So to be fair, it wasn't traumatic at all like I was expecting. It wasn't a drama. Probably calmer and nicer than A&E is when we're not in a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, because I think it's quite important that people understand, if there is anything that happens at home where there is an emergency and you do need to take your child to the hospital, that's kind of the greeting that waits you. It's not this, really awful place. Obviously, we don't want to be going to hospital when we don't need to, which is why first aid is often really, really important to understand. But when it comes to broken bones, however, like you found, we can't, unless we've got x-ray vision, we can't see what's going on. And so when you took him to hospital, what did they say? What was the procedures once you kind of waited out and got seen by the doctors?
So we were triaged fairly quickly by the nurse. Her immediate thought is that it wasn't broken because there's no immediate bony tenderness, but you still then wait and see the doctor. So we didn't have an x-ray at that point. We then waited another, half an hour or so, went through to see the doctor. And I think I was pleasantly surprised that everyone was really nice, because I get really worried that people are going to look at me as if to go, oh my God, why did you bring him here? Or what was the point in that? Stupid woman. didn't feel that at all. I was validated every step along the way that I'd done the right thing. You know, I'd followed 111, I'd followed advice, you know, we didn't know. So when we went through to the doctor had a differing opinion to the nurse, which often happens. He felt that there was a chance that bone could be broken. Apparently it's the one that Wayne Rooney broke several years ago, and it can be easily done and easily missed. So he did want an x-ray. So we went through to the x-ray department, and there was nobody in the waiting room in the x-ray department at all. It was empty. So we went straight down there, straight in, got the x-ray done, straight out and back. And yeah, then the doctor looked at it. It wasn't broken. So Dexter was given a pair of crutches. We were advised on pain relief. I didn't want it from the pharmacy because I've got it in my cupboard. And then away home we went.
Yay, fantastic. So we checked in, just make sure everyone was all right. But it's quite interesting for me that in order to confirm a break, you have to go and get it checked. Unless, obviously, it's one of those really obvious breaks, you know, that are disformed and swollen, or maybe bone sticking out or something like that. A bit gross. But that's the only way you can kind of confirm it. You do have to go and get somebody to go and confirm a broken bone.
And I think previously, as you know, I was a practice nurse, so I have dealt with minor injuries. And anyone that comes into me and goes, I've done this and this hurts, my first response to all of them is, I don't have x-ray vision. You can't diagnose anything that way. I mean, I felt it more likely that it may be broken because there was no twist involved. So he jumped down flat and his feet landed flat. So obviously if he'd twisted his ankle, then I would have assumed that the ligaments and the muscles had pulled, and that was where the pain was coming from. But because it was a flat impact, I kind of thought, that in my mind raised the possibility of it.
Well, you and I had that conversation on Tuesday, even on the call before you left for the hospital, about the mechanisms of injury, right? The mechanics of injury. And we talked about that on that call. I think the other girls were a bit like, what? Mechanisms, mechanics? But
first aid speak.
First aid speak. The mechanisms of injury dictate what the potential outcome could be. And so we discussed that, and because of the fact that he landed flat, could have easily caused a break to some of the bones in their feet. So yeah, brilliant. I've got a couple of comments here. So I asked on Facebook yesterday whether or not anybody's ever dealt with a break before, and a couple of people come back. Nicola said she had an accident and either broke, bruised or fractured ribs. Very painful, but no x-ray for it, as there's no way to fix it other than rest.
Yeah, same as sometimes fingers, they won't x-ray fingers or toes, because even if they do diagnose a break, they're not going to do anything about it apart from strap it up.
Exactly right. So, and Leonie, big shout out to my cousin Leonie, who's a big follower on our Facebook page. Thank you, babes. Says she broke her growth bone on her right wrist at 11. It never healed properly, but her arm grew correctly. Pops out of its socket sort of thing. So she has to be mindful of it in certain exercises. Not hard to miss, but when it happened, it was facing the wrong way and it hurt really badly. So there are some very obvious signs of something going wrong, but like the other one, sometimes there is absolutely nothing you can see. And then Mitch Wilson, PT, another avid follower of ABC Life Support, thank you, also fantastic personal training, took us on our paces for our boot camp last year, or earlier on this year, was it? Broke both wrists roller skating into a wall with no obvious signs but slight bends in the bone. I've also had a football player, our coach broke his arm from falling over. The only signs were swollen. And actually, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you guys commenting on that. Thank you. I think it's also quite important while we're talking about this, Bex, when people break a bone, they seem to think that there are very obvious signs of it. You know, they are.
There are not, yeah.
There are not, right? So, and also, I've had people come back and say, well, very, very, you know, kind of sheepishly during the course, oh, my daughter broke her arm and I picked her up from school and she was fine, but it's only at bedtime when she started crying and it kind of blew up. I realised there was something wrong. They're easily missed, aren't they, breaks?
Yeah, and they're even, I mean, speaking from my nursing experience now, they're even missed on x-rays. If there's too much swelling around the bone, you're not going to sometimes see that hairline. So, yeah, you mustn't feel embarrassed that you didn't notice it as a parent, because it's really hard to know. So, and they break in so many different ways, and you can have hairline fractures and chip fractures and spiral fractures, and they all manifest completely differently. Because really all the bruising and swelling comes from the damage to the surrounding tissue. It's got nothing to do with the broken bone. So you can break a bone with very little swelling to the surrounding area, again, depending on the mechanism of injury, depending on how it's done. Stress fractures can be done just repeated stress in the same area.
It's interesting because actually whenever I'm delivering training, I always say to people, when we're dealing with kids, it's very different from dealing with adults. When a child falls over, they'll probably lie on the floor waiting for you to go and get them, right? You know, because they're devastated and they're pain, and their parent will come and rescue them. And I always say, if you see an adult in town and they're on the floor, you need to assume that there's something seriously wrong with them, right? Because if you fall over in the middle of town, trust me, you're going to be getting up rapidly.
Yeah, quick.
And checking that anyone's watching, because we get embarrassed and stuff like that. So if a grown-up has fallen and done something to themselves, I think the fact that they are on the floor tells us that they can't move and there is something quite wrong with them. And so in order to get help effectively, we need to think about getting an ambulance quite quickly, especially for the elderly, because they break bones rather easily. And then in home, the problem you've got with broken bones with elderly people is that if they're on the floor for too long, then you can get hypothermia. People die from hypothermia on their floors, through broken bones and fractured hips and stuff like that. Have you had any dealings with anything like that in your practice nursing days?
What, from broken bones and people not being able to get up and get out and get help? Yeah. I've way back when I went out with the ambulance crew, when I was a student nurse, we went out to a lady who had been all night in her back garden, having fallen down her back step and broken her hip. And unable to call for help and unable to do anything. She was fine by the end of it. She had it operated on, had a new hip joint, absolutely fine. But broken hips are really, really obvious. If you ever see one, you get leg shortening. Okay. So if you've got someone lying on the floor and you're looking at them and one leg looks obviously shorter than the other and they're elderly, you can pretty much guess that they've probably broken the hip, because as you can imagine, it pops out of the joint and therefore you've got one foot lower than the other. So, so experiences with that. Yeah, lots of elderly, unfortunately, fall and break things and then just can't get to the phone because, as you say, it's painful. You can't move.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about other examples.
I'm sure we could probably sit and talk about loads of examples about broken bones and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
It happens, right? But I think hopefully that's kind of relayed some confidence about dealing with broken bones and understanding that it's not, you don't know whether or not a person's broken a bone. The only definitive diagnosis of broken bone, unless it's obviously broken, i.e. sticking out of skin or bent in really, really weird angles, is to go and get it checked out. And thank you so much for talking to me today about broken bones. I really appreciate it. And also, thank you very much, guys, for commenting on our Facebook page. If you've got any questions about anything you'd like us to cover in the future, then please do drop it in the comments. It'd be a pleasure to invite some of my friends on to talk about the things that have taken place, because first aid is a very real thing. It happens in real life. It's not just things work or anything like that. So where there are people, that you need first aid skills. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Fantastic day. You have a fantastic day, Bex. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Speak to you soon. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great day. See you later. Bye bye.